Hello and welcome to episode 1063 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Tuesday, June 7th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, I wasn't sure if it was 1063, but it was. Our episode got posted out of order. Mine and yours from Friday. Supposed to auto go up on Friday night, and my dumbass didn't check it over the weekend. And then I saw that you posted with Johnny, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, but where's ours? But it's up now, so pardon to those who are listening to it late. I know we talked about some stuff that would have been actionable for the weekend. I'm going to take the L on that. I did schedule it, but for some reason, sometimes WordPress.
That's my bad too. I usually check it and
you give me a nudge, but I'm not blaming you. That's on me. I'm sorry, but it's up. People could have listened to it last night, so we are caught back up. It is 1063. How you doing, Justin?
I'm doing all right. I'm getting ready for a heat wave. We're supposed to hit triple digits here, I think tomorrow, and
we're there.
Yeah, triple digits all week. I'm not ready for that, especially because I think it's supposed to be 101 when I played my first softball game of the season on Thursday.
You had practice recently, right? We talked about that, and now you got game coming up.
Yeah. So
when's that? This week? Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday. Taking on the defending league champs.
Ooh, coming out the gates firing.
Yeah, that's never. Our team name is the Bad News Bears, and we totally
live up to it.
Yeah, we absolutely live up to the moniker. So this is going to be an ugly game. I'll report back on Friday, but
yeah, I'm eager to hear how it goes and how well you hit.
I'm going to predict a 13-5 final score. So
well, I hope you get some of those ribbies, because I know they back up. They see your size. They're like, I got to back up. But then you doink it in front of them, and you're just hitting singles all day. You're not a prideful man. You'll take your base hits.
No, I'll take exactly what is given to me, which is little base hits.
I respect that. Getting on base like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We got some guys who are getting on base like crazy like that. Not really that smooth of a transition. We're going to talk about some rising stars, check in with them, see where they're at. Some guys that were really popular in spring, call out bold prediction type guys, people that, a lot of folks across the industry and just in fantasy in general bought in on, and we want to see where they're at. A lot of them are doing well. Some aren't. I kind of want to get your thoughts. But first, I want to talk about Hunter Greene yesterday. Now, I will say for the most part, even the people dealing with the volatility of Hunter Greene should have gotten this start. I don't say this with hindsight. I thought he was a go this week with the two-step. And that's kind of my first check through of whether or not I should roster a guy if I can't start him on a two-step. I don't automatically cut a guy, but I need to start asking questions.
Yeah, because we got a question about that on Twitter. I don't know if you saw it or not.
Thor, right?
Yeah, someone was like, hey, if I can't start Thor on two-step against Boston and the Mets, hopefully you did, because he actually pitched well against Boston last night. But
I would have.
Should I be dropping him?
But I wouldn't have cut him if I didn't.
Yes.
Because I don't.
I think that when we say, like, if you can't start him on a two-step, it's more of a matter of like, there really needs to be a reason you can't start him.
Check in with yourself. Exactly. Yeah. Figure out why you can't.
Because if you can't start him on a two-step, even against two good teams, like, when are you going to start him is, I think, becomes the next question. So it's not an automatic drop, but it is an automatic, hey, I need to really, really evaluate how I feel about this player.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of that rubric of understanding, okay, now I need to ask some questions and really see. Now with Thor, you can say, I'm scared right now. The Ks haven't been there. I'm taking this off, but I don't want to cut him. And I get that. So, yeah, I'm glad you clarified on that, because it isn't just so cut and dried. I benched Paul Blackburn. I didn't cut him on the two-step. And if I can...
I wish I had benched Madison Bumgarner last night.
Yeah, because he was opposing Hunter Greene in that. So, now, little consternation here. First off, hats off to Greene. He beasted, and most people that have him should have rostered it, because it was Arizona and at St. Louis, a two-step that you should definitely be playing. How do you feel about points leagues grading that as a complete game and a shutout for 7 innings of rain-shortened ball?
I feel like that's the correct call. It is a shutout. It is a complete game. It's not his fault. The game was
not his fault. I grant that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. What it is. I still think Madison Bumgarner's no hitter from
with the 7-inning no-no.
I think that's a no-hitter. It should be graded as such. The fact that it's
especially
not
that one, because that
ridiculous.
was scheduled 7 innings.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this then: if you were commissioning a points league, and the outlets in question added a, when you're checking off the tick boxes, if it says shutout parenthesis 9 in, and then shutout no parenthesis 9 in, so it's any shutout like these, which would you check? At the beginning of a season. Obviously, you're not going back and changing anything right now. And don't change anything, folks. If you didn't like this, but your rule has it, you can't change it. You cannot change a rule after the fact, after the season started. Whoever has this Hunter Greene shutout, if they get a cheap shutout, that's fine. But what would you choose at the beginning of a year? Would you want them to be 9 innings if the site allowed it to be a minimum 9, or would you just take them as they come, including ones like this?
I think you take them as they come. Like this is, this is what baseball is, right? Games can be shortened because of rain. So
yeah, I'm not against it.
I know I'm sure there were some people who were upset, or were very happy. I'm sure he was a popular DFS play because Arizona has been so bad recently. Yeah. Especially offensively. So
our boy Johnny, your guest on Sunday, I believe, was against it. Let me pull up his tweets here. I don't want to misquote him, but I think he was not so keen on it. CBS Fantasy counts Hunter Greene rain shortened game as complete game shutout. Wolf, that's some dirty luck for Monday. Quality start and win for sure, but CG and SO, come on, that's not right. If there are bonuses awarded, there should be a 9-inning minimum. You can make a 9-inning minimum, but absent that being stated at the beginning, I think I got to disagree with him.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's a complete game shutout. He went the complete game. He shut out the other team. Like that's, I love Johnny. He was great to have on the pod on Sunday, but
and that's not a CBS choice. My ESPN league had that. This is an MLB situation. This is a draft. Like everyone's following MLB on that. So I'm with it. Again, if they offered a solution that said 9 in only, I'm okay to that too. If my league says that, basically I go with where the rules are,
or have a league constitution that states, and then your manager or your commissioner can go back in and change the point pool.
As long as it's on the books, that I'm fine with it if it's on the books, because it's on me to read the rules then.
Right, so absolutely.
I'm fine with it. I'm glad Hunter Greene popped off. He gets at St. Louis this week. If you are in a daily league situation, are you taking the shot on that one? Since you can be more judicious with your,
and it's at St. Louis, right?
At St. Louis, which is actually probably a benefit.
Yeah.
Versus at home. I wouldn't want him
man, he was so filthy last night. But one of the things I wrote in the Roto write-up when I was writing him up last night was, he's a guy who pitch to pitch can lose command and control, much less game to game.
Which means he's matchup proof, but also what's the opposite of matchup proof? Like anybody can get him when he's off, but he can get anybody when he's on. So you're betting if Hunter Greene's going to be on. Let me give you a couple tidbits. St. Louis 14th in WRC plus against righties, 4th lowest strikeout rate at 19.6%. Does that change anything for you on Greene if you're able to?
What's their walk percentage? Do you know?
Their walk rate is 8%, which is probably about average. Let me rank it for you. I mean, there's a lot of ties here. They are 14th, but there are, actually the 8.5 is ahead of them. So yeah, they're about mid-pack walk rate.
Yeah, I'd probably roll with it, especially because being in St. Louis, you're protected a little bit by that stadium.
Yeah.
And the strikeout. I mean, you're going to get strikeouts either way. Like even when he's given up like 5 walks and 3 home runs, he still strikes out 7. So like you're still going to at least get the strikeouts at worst. At best, you get what we saw last night, which is, I don't think he would have been able to go the distance.
He could have probably Greene probably could have gone the 8th. Yeah,
he was at 87 pitches, so I don't think he was going 9. But when his command and control is in check, he is unhittable.
He can't be touched.
We saw that last night. He just was, because the more impressive thing was 0 walks last night.
Yes, that was exactly, and that's back-to-back games. Because even against Boston, when he got beat up 3 2/3, I know I'm taking something from a 4 earned outing, but it was 0 walks. So now we've got 10 2/3 now with 0 walks in a row. Let me look at his last game. Throw on 3 more innings from the Cubs game as well, hit the last 3 innings there. So you got 13 2/3, no walks. It's a baby step for Hunter Greene, but a step nonetheless. So I just want to give him some shine and talk about that scoring situation, because I saw some people kind of peeved by it. If it's on the books, it's on the books. I'm chill with it. You can change it for next year, but I don't think it's any sort of foul play there or anything. No. I get Johnny's point, but I stick with the ruling there. I do
love him, but he's wrong.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about some guys that were really popular, like rising star types. They're not all super young. Our first baseman in this here is a little bit of an older guy, but he was a big popular pick to break out this year. And I just want to give you some idea of where they stand so far this year. Get your kind of check-in thoughts with them, because whoops, sorry, I had that. You ever have a YouTube tab that you open, but you never clicked on it? So then when you go to that tab, it starts auto-playing that. That's what happened there. I don't know when I opened that video. It's from May 30th. I've had that tab open for a week, and I didn't watch it. Sorry to that creator. Anyway, let's start at catcher with Keibert Ruiz. Now, he was a very popular pick. He was, a top 10 catcher type. I totally was down with that personally. I bought in on that. I like Keibert Ruiz. He ranks 17th right now, and I realize I should have quizzed you on these instead of putting them on the sheet, but he was the 9th taken catcher in main events. He's 17th so far this year for Keibert Ruiz. He has a 255 average, 327 OBP, 346 slug with just 1 homer, a surprising 3 stolen bases, 15 runs, 12 SBs. He does have the 10% strikeout rate, 9% walk. The skills are still there, but he's only 17th. I know you're not going to cut him, so I'm not even going to ask you that. But I'm curious where you stand with Kybert right now. And then in a 2-catcher league, I know you won't cut him. I'm going to ask you about some 1-catcher situations if you might cut him there. But go ahead and give us your thoughts on Keibert Ruiz, 42 games into his first full season as a big leaguer.
I think he's kind of a buy low right now.
Okay.
Like 93.5% zone contact. He's a pretty kind of nice launch angle at 13 degrees. So maybe it needs to come up a little bit, actually. XBA is 314, so he's been getting a bit unlucky. As things start to warm up in Washington, I think the ball's going to, we're seeing the balls start to fly more already around the country, but I think that's a even more beneficial spot for him. I like Ruiz, and I know there are going to be people who are disappointed by kind of 1 home run, but I think the big question coming into the season was like, how much power are we really going to see?
Yeah.
I think more it was going to be a matter of you're taking this guy so he does it, you're getting a catcher 1 or a catcher 2 that isn't going to actively hurt you. And
because that's batting average, even at 255, is positive, because batting averages are so crappy that
but he makes so much zone contact that I think he's gonna be fine. Like his batting average is gonna come up. Yeah, and it's gonna come up.
8th.
So I would actually, if somebody cuts him in my league, I'm gonna be actively looking to try to pick him up. So
I would too. But let me quiz you on some 1-catcher situations, if you might consider it. Because Keibert Ruiz is 76% rostered over at ESPN Yahoo combined. It's 80 ESPN, 73 Yahoo. But I'm going to give their composite rankings the rest of the way, their roster rates. Alejandro Kirk is 54%. He's 5th at catcher. Would you make that swap in a 1-catcher league?
Yes, okay. I would. I mean,
I love Kirk.
I'm in a weird
contact.
I'm in a weird situation where I had in tout, I have Kirk, and I drafted Kirk and I drafted Rutschman. But I also, when Rutschman was, still in the minors, I picked up MJ Melendez. And I cannot trade any catcher for
I'm not trying to one up you, but I have the same situation in tout. I drafted Jansen and Rutschman. And so while waiting on Rutschman, I acquired Jonah Heim. And I even still have Max Stassi, who I just need to get rid of. He can be cut, but then I still have 3 catchers for 2 spots. So I'm right there with you. And it's wild.
And I need the roster spot. I'm close
You're
to
desperately trying to trade.
No one will trade for this is a 15-team 2-catcher.
Nobody needs a catcher.
Nobody will trade for him. like for any of them. Like I've tried to trade, Rutschman. I've tried.
That's the route I was going to take, was probably to try to trade.
I've tried to trade Kirk. Like just, but I may end up like having to just drop Rutschman, which I don't want to do.
God, that's tough. Yeah.
No one will trade for them. I don't.
Well, and that, by the way, that's why, and I think you probably noticed that listeners have noticed that we don't do this as much as like a solution to things. We don't say, just trade them. Just trade them. That's always like, that's kind of a cop-out fantasy solution. Like, just trade one of the guys. It's like, yeah, that's a lot easier said than done. Well, trading is difficult.
Unless you have an Ian Kahn in your league or a Jake Seeley, trading is notoriously difficult to do in industry leagues. Because they're public leagues and no one wants to be seen as losing a deal.
Yeah, a get and got. Hundo P. Totally agree there. Let's couple more.
Okay.
William Contreras is 41% rostered. He's the 9th catcher. Would you go William Contreras or Keibert Ruiz?
That's close.
He's got 7 homers. 292 average. I mean, William Contreras has been on fire. So is his brother, who's number 1 catcher, by the way. They are two top 10 catchers from the same family.
That's very Molina-esque of them.
Right?
How much is William playing? I think is the question.
Pretty significantly, and I believe he's playing non-catching situations. Okay, no, his playing time got cut last week. You are correct to bring that up.
So I think I would still go with Ruiz just because the floor is much higher.
Contreras was getting some left field burn. It looks like Duvall is getting that back again. And with Harris,
but I mean that could end in a minute with how Duvall has been. So
he has a 55 OPS plus.
Yeah,
Duvall does. Okay, last one. Jonah Heim, 6 homers, 246 average. He's 10th. Ruiz is 17th.
I think I'm still going Ruiz, but that's super close as well. And I can understand
those ones are
to make that trim. With Garver back, it's the playing time just isn't going to be as plentiful for Heim.
They have been committing to Garver at DH though. However, the bigger issue right now is that Sam Huff is taking time.
Man, that burns a little bit because I was all over Huff last year.
So was I, and I do still like him, but I love Jonah Heim, and I'm torn. Right, like they have 3 guys, and listen, at least they are understanding that.
I picked up Huff in a couple leagues, including I think our main, just because he's only a few games away from getting catcher eligibility.
Yep. I dig it.
So
I like where your head's at on that one. How much money do you have left?
Not much. I
didn't say that to dig. I really just
overspent on Erod. I got about $200 left.
Okay.
So I'm not in Dalton Del Don area.
$12 for him. Yeah, you got 175. You can make
yeah. So I got 100 to spend before August. And then I have 75 after that, probably is the way it's going to work stuff out. But I had to. My offense is great in that league. I mean, going into
on your pitching.
Yeah, going into Fab on Sunday, I had the most amount of points offensively in the league, and so but what's been mediocre has been my pitching, and so I really wanted Chapman, and I was the runner-up bid.
Put 92. I mean, you put a good bid.
I didn't think it would get it.
I didn't think my 88 would either, but I was like, I'm gonna put something competitive-ish. And we'll see what happens.
But I think the fact that I put so much on Chapman made me like bust up my Erod bid, and kind of go, oh well, if I'm going to be aggressive on Chapman, then I need to be aggressive on, and I didn't need to be as aggressive on Erod.
Well, here's the thing though, if the Erod thing doesn't work, you can just go cry on Twitter and blame the industry for that.
Absolutely, because I wasn't in on him, other people were not.
Yeah. And like you knew that he wasn't going to be good, but you still drafted him. But you can just blame the people who forced you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you just go crying everywhere endlessly while thinking that you're in the right position, and just show a stunning lack of self-awareness.
Absolutely,
it would almost be impressive. Anyway, moving on. First base, Ty France, 4th at the position. This is our older guy who's not. You're going to notice like a rookie or a really young theme with a lot of these players. Ty France a little bit more established, but this was kind of like he had his believers, including both of us, who thought,
oh, I'm not taking credit.
Oh, pardon me.
Not me.
Just me.
I was not in on
I thought you were on the France train as well. But yeah, I was thinking, hey, he could hit for the big average again, but also add some power. So far, he's 4th at first base. Since you came in as a non-believer, has any of this turned you at all? Have you reassessed anything on Ty France? Where do you currently stand with Ty France?
He has been a better version of what I thought he would be. And so, like, I don't feel like I'm taking an L necessarily.
Yeah, because I don't recall. Like I said, I thought you were in, so I certainly don't recall you ever being like, "Nah, France sucks. He's garbage."
I felt he was going to be like a low homers guy with like a 280 average. In fact, he's hitting 326. It's like, whoa, like that's huge because he's not hitting for. He's hitting for some power, but he's not hitting for a ton of power. Like he's not.
Actually, his ISO is 2 points higher. It's not. He hasn't even really added more. But the 326 in today's era, that's 400.
Huge.
That's insane.
And I mean, that is money, especially when you're talking about a guy that you probably have as your CI or MI because he's multi-positional eligible.
Yep.
He makes a ton of zone contact, and we knew that he made, a lot of good zone contact. But 94.4% is probably up there with some of the, probably top 10 or 15 in the league.
Definitely.
And he's, he makes good contact. The problem with Ty France is the same problem as it's been before, is so much of it's on the ground.
And that's why he's not really looking like a 25 homer hitter, let alone 30.
Yeah, he's probably 22, 23 homers. I mean, at this point, you got to project him for like 300 because, I mean, even his XBA is 312. So he's getting a little bit lucky, but not much. Like he's deserving a lot of this. He's the one of the few bright spots. We're going to talk about another one here in that Seattle offense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I definitely undershot him a little bit. He should have been a guy that I targeted more than I did, instead of targeting guys who because he's a better version of Jonathan Scope, like in some ways. Like
that's true. Yeah.
Like it's not prodigious power, but it's great average. Like he's the rock solid version of Jonathan Scope.
That's a good way to put it.
So I mean, I kind of wish I had him. Well, I've got him on a team or two, but I kind of wish I had him more spots. I'm sure you're loving this.
Yeah, I really am. I guess if I had one regret, it's that I don't have him in either main. Mm-hmm. And that was just getting sniped more than not having him. He was on the board. He was in the target list. I want to say that's one where Govier got me. One of the handful of real punishing picks that Govier got from me. Although one of them that was my biggest complaint was when he took Albies and I had to quote unquote settle for bets. I feel pretty good about that one now, but the Ty France one still stings.
Govier does have time. Yeah,
he did get him in first, second base. I really like him. He's been excellent. Wanted to give him a little bit of shine. Let me ask you, he's 4th right now at first base. I even as a big believer, I don't believe he's going to finish there. Do you believe he finishes top 10 at first base?
With that batting average, absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly that.
I mean, considering how,
he could hit 18 homers again and still get there, I think, if he hits.
I'm going to double check it right now, but league batting average this season, or I'll ask, what is league batting average this season?
112? No, I'm just kidding.
Feels like it, right?
238.
240.
Oh, almost nailed it. So 326. Are you kidding me?
Huge.
Can you give us league batting average for last year for context?
I can. Going to 2021. 244.
4 points for the league-wide average. For those that don't understand, that is colossal.
Mm-hmm.
4 points for a player, that's one good day. For the league, that is astronomical. I mean, it's massive. It's a massive move, and even with averages
to get up, some player hitting 86 points above league average,
that's filthy.
That's unreal. Yeah,
that's filthy. So, shouts to Ty France. Just a little bit of a little bit of a victory lap for Ty France. Still got to finish it off there, but I love what he's doing. Let's talk one that I'm late to the party on that you have been on, but I'm joining. I'm getting on the bandwagon late. You guys slowed down the train for me to jump on the Andrés Giménez bandwagon because he's fun as hell to watch, and that's really what I've been. It's the game watching and seeing him that I'm like, damn. Everyone was right. This guy is exciting. He does have an interesting future, and he's off to a good start. He's only 23 years old, by the way, too. So even if he doesn't quite get over the hump this year and maybe levels off a bit, there's still plenty of time. But he's 8th at second base. I think one of the big things holding him back right now maybe is a little bit of playing time because he isn't playing every day, but everything else has been there for Giménez. He's hitting 307 with 7 homers, 4 steals, 19 runs, 29 ribbies over at second base. I think he has shortstop eligibility too. So he gives you the double middles and middle, of course. That's 3 positions that he's eligible for. The craziest thing is that the guy ahead of him is Thairo Estrada at 7th. How good has he been? But anyway, Giménez, a guy that you've liked. You were in on, I believe, quite a bit last year. Did you double down this year with him?
Not as much as I wish I had.
Okay. But how are you enjoying the fast breakout so far, the early start?
I'm loving it. It feels, I don't want to say fraudulent because it's not fraudulent. But it feels like it's got to end at some point. We're talking about a 3% walk rate, a below average zone contact rate. I'm just like when he makes contact in the zone, it is good contact.
Yep.
It's not he doesn't try to hit the ball over the fence. Like what he's done is kind of perfect for what we've seen with a dead ball, which is if you put the ball in the air too much, it's just going to fall at the warning track.
Mm-hmm.
So like he said, hey, I'm just going to spray the ball, and it's working. In spite of the fact that he's got below average zone contact, his XBA is just right around 300. So like he's deserved a lot of what he's gotten so far, and he's fast, so he's going to steal bases. I just worry that at some point the hits aren't going to fall as much as they have been, and the average will come down. And there's not a ton of power or a ton of speed yet. 7 home runs, 4 stolen bases, nothing to sneeze at.
Not bad for Giménez. Yeah,
absolutely. Especially for a guy you got as late as you did with Giménez. That being said, I just worry just a little bit that there's regression coming.
Yeah, it's got hot snap written all over it. I totally agree with that for Giménez because those plate skills, aren't fully backing it up. Strikeouts are down very little. Like you mentioned,
he's got a 361 BABIP right now,
which he can maintain a high BABIP, but that's still high. You still have to project that to come down, and he's 2x'd his homer to fly ball. Giménez,
he's got
to 22%. So things are working out very well. That doesn't mean that I would necessarily jump off here because, like you said, the investment cost wasn't so much. He's probably your MI. So I don't think you have to get out from under this, but let's do some comparisons here and talk about some guys, see who you're more interested in rest of year. Do you think Whit Merrifield can catch him and surpass him from here forward?
I think he can.
I think I would take Whit.
Yeah.
Well. Would you? Now, I don't know that there's a lot of challenge trades that are going to be done here. I think
honestly, I don't know that you can trade.
I don't think you should. You won't get full value.
And that's the reason. Because I think like often people are like, well, yeah, just trade the guy. But who's trading for Giménez? Like no one is like
or overpaying for him too. Like if they're trading for him, they're giving you something comparable. Like
I think they're giving you something less comparable than what he's probably worth.
You think they give you like Tyler Mahle?
Yeah, and I mean, I love
fine.
Mahle, but
I mean, I know and I do too. Even though he's a half pitcher, and of course he beasts out against
hopefully
your boys
Cincinnati trains
in Cincinnati.
That'd
be amazing. That'd be amazing. Trade him. Even though this doesn't make any sense because they shouldn't buy a 30-year-old pitcher, trade him to Oakland, please, just for the love of God.
Trade him to the Mets.
Hey, that would work. That would work. We like Citi Field. All right. So what about Jorge Polanco is 19th and Giménez is 8th? Where are their finishes at the end of the year?
I think they're right around each other. I think they're right there. I think it kind of depends on what you need. I think that Polanco has more power.
Top.
I think Giménez has more batting average. So I think it kind of depends on what your team context looks like there. But I think that's a lot closer, and I don't think they'd be valued the same. So, like, if you had Giménez, or if you had Polanco, you could probably get Giménez plus.
I agree. What about this one? Now, you have not taken any victory laps on this guy. He did have 3 homers over the weekend, to which you pointed out he's still below average. But Brendan Rodgers he's at a 95 WRC plus with his 6 homers, half of which came in one game. He's sitting there at 15th to Giménez's 8th at second base. This is the Razzball player rater. How close are they by season's end? You like
I don't think they're close. I don't think they're particularly close at all.
You still think Rodgers can fall off?
Rodgers, like he's still, like you said, 95 WRC plus. He still's not even been an average player in baseball.
It's because WRC plus is too punishing on Rockies. That's what I'm gonna put my hat on.
No,
743 OPS.
We said that somebody was the bad or the good version, or Ty France is like the rock solid version of Jonathan Scope. Brendan Rodgers is the bad version of Ty France.
That's accurate. Because you're going for average with a little bit lesser power, and it's in Colorado, so you'd expect it to be the better Ty France, but it's the worst because of the volatility and just general annoyance.
Well, and then you have to throw in the fact you don't get multi-positional eligibility with Rodgers, and
you do now. He has both now. You didn't coming into the season, but you do.
That's
now.
Right. But you don't get like Ty France has a pretty good injury history. Brendan Rodgers does not. And I mean, as bad as Seattle's played, Seattle's better than the Colorado.
Easily. So I still love Rodgers. For those that don't know, Justin and I went back and forth on Rodgers quite a bit. I don't blame you, by the way. I will say I'm with you on Giménez over him.
I'll tell you, when Rodgers had that day the other day, I was happy for him because the look on my wife's face, because she drafted Rodgers on your recommendation, the look on her face is like, oh my God, he hit another one. Like seeing her get excited about fantasy and about because usually she's just excited about the Giants. So watching she's having just a great season. She was in first place, I think earlier this week, in her TGFBI league and fourth place in her other league. And seeing her get excited is like, oh, this is really cool.
That is fun.
She's never gonna play again, she said, but she's having a great year though.
But we'll see. When Jen won when she won a DraftKings, her excitement was just unmatched, and it was awesome. I was like, I'm glad to lose because seeing her this happy over something that brings me that kind of joy.
Speaking of your boy having good DraftKings,
bro, you're having a really nice season.
Yeah.
Are you playing more consistently now? You mentioned that.
Not really. I mean, I'm playing a little bit more consistently, but not a ton. I'm playing 3 to 4 days a week.
That's fine. You do 8 billion other things, but man, every night that you're sending me lineups, you're green all over the place. You are having a good one. So.
I'm number 1 in Tout Daily right now,
which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And maybe you had this guy early on, but if you've been drafting him lately, he's not been helping you as much. And that's Wander Franco. Now, I'm not here to victory lap on anything because I haven't won shit yet, but I am looking for those victory lappers from April who were dunking on me. Because I said I was removing him from my draft list just because I thought he was too expensive. It wasn't like an anti-Wander is a piece of shit or anything like that. It was his fantasy value is tied to batting average because I don't think he has enough game-changing power or speed, and that was my concern. But he hit, 400 through most of April, and so I'm getting laughed out of the room. And now we look up, and he's on the IL right now, but he's through May 30th, which is when he went on the IL, the 31st. He was pacing for 14 homers, 14 steals with a 270 average.
Which is right in line with what I thought he might do.
Exactly what, and 97 runs, 68 ribbies. Pretty much exactly what I thought. I thought a little bit higher average. Not bad. Again, I'm not here to dunk on Wander, but this is kind of what I was expecting and why I didn't want to pay the premium. I think next year, again, I compared this to Vlad pre-2021. I was like, we're a year early buying him in the 4th round for Wander. Get him next year. He's 19th at shortstop. What are your feelings on Wander Franco right now? Again, he's hurt, so we put that off to the side. Like that's a whole different consideration. But from what we've seen through 2 months, you said that he's pacing right where you thought he would go. So you probably haven't changed your feeling that much then.
I haven't at all. I mean, I think he is an extremely talented player. I think at some point he is going to return 1st-round value in fantasy. Agreed. I just felt like it was too early. Like I don't think the power is completely developed. Tampa Bay is not a great place to hit in to begin with. The start was amazing. But I think he is I think he's DJ LeMahieu asked before the DJ LeMahieu breakout. So
yeah, I think that's fair. With a little bit more speed, maybe.
Yeah.
Like a good player, but just like very difficult for him to get back in the 4th round. And here's the thing too, even when some of the projections had Wander Franco's value at like a 4th round, I didn't like the way it fit the team with like 17 homers and 14 steals with the average in runs. I grant that. But with a 4th rounder, I want more impact in one of the categories that's tougher. Like the homers or not homers aren't tough to get, but you need 1 billion of them, or steals. I don't want to put everything on batting averages. So that's why I faded him this year. And I haven't won. This is not a victory lap at all, but I wanted to check in with him. And I was actually surprised that he had fallen to 19th.
Yeah. I mean, the stolen bases early were a surprise. Like my one of my biggest issues was like, I don't know if he's getting to double-digit stolen bases. And he was trending like he was going to crush that early in the season. He had 1 stolen base in the month of May.
Oof. He was pacing for 26 after April. And you're like, here we go, 34-26 pace. Surely that'll hold.
And I don't think he's going to end up being like an atrocious pick or anything like that.
No.
As long as as long as he gets back healthy, like I think he's probably going to hit 280. He'll probably finish with double-digit home runs and like 7 or 8 stolen bases, which is fine.
And to that end, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought that was you.
I think people were wishing upon a star with his upside. And
they were. But that's okay, right? Because we do that with some of our guys where we're like, we'll take this floor, but we're trying to get the ceiling. You and I just didn't really like.
You shouldn't be doing that in the 4th round, though.
Exactly. We didn't like the cost to do that.
I had him as like my 10th or 11th shortstop. I think that was a mistake too.
I don't. So, but I also feel like he has more transcendent power and speed. So I think he's even different than Franco.
I think the big difference for me, and I agree, he does have more transcendent
he has 7
power
homers,
too.
8 steals.
I think the difference was the location. I think being in Kansas City, they knew they weren't competing. If he struggled, there's no reason for Bobby Witt to go back down or lose playing time. But Tampa Bay, one, they play a very sabermetric game. They don't want guys getting run out on the bases. You know, there is a shot if he's just awful, he gets set back down or loses playing time because they love the platoon in Tampa Bay. I think that's where you can make the argument that maybe Bobby Witt Jr. was the right call. I still think it was too early for Bobby Witt.
I mean, he's hitting 219. It was like he is our next guy, though. Let's go ahead and go to him. He's 9th at 3rd base, which is still pretty good, though. Like obviously,
I think this tells you how bad 3rd base is. Though.
Yeah, 12th at shortstop, 9th at 3rd base for Bobby Witt. 7 homers, 9 steals. It also tells you that it helps highlight that a 219 average isn't as damaging, which we've been trying to convey all year. In fact, earlier this show, we talked about the batting average and where it's at. So 219, not going to sit here and pretend it's good. It's absolutely not, but it doesn't ruin your team the way a 219 used to. It's more of like a 240, the way a 240 used to be kind of deal. He's pacing for 22 homers, 25 steals. So you get 20-20. Let's say he gets the average up to like 235 with 90 runs, 90 ribs. How would you feel about that? 20-20, 90-90, 235.
I feel probably pretty good about it. Or, I mean, I don't know if I feel – I mean, it's still a 4th round pick, but I think he's going to be fine. A lot of
this is Bobby Witt Jr. we're talking about.
Yeah, Bobby Witt Jr. since May 1st. So cutting out the first month of the season or April, 7 home runs, 4 stolen bases, 221 batting average.
So it's been a lot more impactful since that first month.
I mean,
which
and that's running with a 244 BABIP, which we feel a guy of his speed and his power should, or how hard he hits the ball, should be a little bit higher. I think he's going to end up being fine. I think he's going to end up, honestly, I think it probably ends up being or looking like a pretty darn good pick, in spite of the fact that you overspent on him.
But then if he reaches it, did I overspend?
No,
it is a conundrum.
Not.
I'm not being cheeky. Because I wrestle with that too.
Yes, because I think
I couldn't get him with my 5th rounder. He wouldn't have been there.
No, he wouldn't have been there. And like I said at the time, like if you wanted him on your team, that's the price you're going to have to pay. And at the end of the day, your draft price doesn't matter as much as we try to make it out to be. Just put together the most cohesive team. That being said, was it the wrong decision? Probably. Like it's, we preach process over results, and I think it probably was a bad process. At the same time, if it works out, it works out. You're not going to, if you win money because of it, you're not going to hand back the money and say, listen, my process was flawed. I just got lucky here.
Show my work. The only shortstop that went that I would have probably redone it. If we ran this draft 10 times, I would have taken this guy maybe 8 and Witt twice, was Lindor.
I appreciate you saying that because I'm the one who took Lindor.
I know, and you have Lindor, and he's been great.
Lindor was a steal where I got him.
Of course he was. Early 5th was silly.
I don't think you thought he would get back that far.
No shot. I thought he should have gone like pretty much right after I picked.
I wasn't even much of a Lindor guy, but it was insta. Pick when he came to me in that spot in the beginning.
You think Dave Potts would have liked him instead of Robbie Ray there? I'm not trying to pick on Dave Potts, but you talked about your pitching hitting split. He's tied with you in the top hitting. He has 7.5 pitching points.
He's got like my barf team, which is
that is tough. I mean, that's just a rush of everything not working the right way. Like again, Dave Potts, brilliant player, so I'm not here shitting on him. I know I don't need those caveats, but just so no one gets twisted. But yeah, like Wheeler
and a fantastic person and a fantastic guitar player. I don't know if you've ever heard.
I didn't even know that.
Oh,
of course, yeah, multi-talented.
He is a like. If you are friends with him on Facebook, he posts videos of him playing music. Like he is a legit, really good.
That's awesome.
Player. Yeah,
that's awesome. I mean, again, I'm not surprised. Just a all around great,
amazing dude. Yeah.
Capable talent. I mean, how do you fix 7.5 pitching though? He basically needs Lance Lynn to come back and be a god. He needs Robbie Ray to figure some shit out. I mean, I don't even know if it's fixable at this point. And I didn't say that just to diss him. I just wanted to bring that up earlier when you mentioned your offense.
It's hard because like I'm in a similar situation in Tout where like my team is fantastic outside of my ERA and WHIP. And now we're moving to a point in the season in which the balls are starting to fly out.
Exactly.
Like it's going to become harder to stream. And so like if you're already buying the 8 ball in your ratios or in your pitching, like it's not going to be easy.
No, that's the brutal part for you and Dave. Like when everyone else was getting 1.2 ERAs from Martin Perez, y'all's ERAs were shooting up.
In Tout, I'm giving it to the end of the month to try to rehab my ERA and WHIP.
Otherwise, you're going.
Otherwise, I'm just gonna double punt those categories and
just try
to. But it'll be hard because like Derek Van Riper's offense is like legitimately like the best in our league.
Could you? So you'll try to win strikeouts and wins?
I'll try to win everything else. Yeah.
Do you have good closers?
Yes.
Okay.
I drafted like 5 closers in this league.
So you win the other 3 pitching, and then just crush offense.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I hope you do. Let's move on. Let's go to the outfield. I got 2 outfielders and 2 pitchers, and then we'll get out of here. You mentioned that Ty France is not the only bright spot on the Mariners in an otherwise disappointing season. They're 5 games under. They can still turn it around. Unlike an upstart like the Tigers or the Royals, teams that had some expectation, those 2 teams cannot turn it around. Mariners at 25-30 absolutely can. And they were on a higher level than those 2 teams too. I just lumped those 3 as 3 teams that were kind of on the rise. Julio Rodriguez, and I think I made this joke a few episodes ago, but if you just woke up from a coma I don't know if I could have convinced you that he was hitting 188 at some point in this year. And I'm not talking like the first 5 games. I'm talking like the first month of the year. His batting average was in the tank, but the steals always protected Julio Rodriguez's value.
Mm-hmm.
And now you look up and he has a 277, 332, 432 line. And you wouldn't even know that he was struggling initially. And since April, if you just lop off April, he has 7 homers and 8 steals, good for a 33-38 pace. If you include April, he has 7 homers, so he didn't hit one in April, and 17 steals, good for a 21-51 pace. Bottom line, he's been elite. He'll be a fringe first rounder next year, firm second rounder, in my opinion, maybe even higher if he has an even better summer. But where are you on J-Rod here? And did you get any of him as the price started to soar late in draft season? Or did you get in early on draft season?
I did. And I got to give a shout out to my boy, Matt Thompson. Because Matt Thompson came to me in February. And, Matt and I, we've run Friends Benefits together with Mike Warner for years. Does
We've had him on the show, too.
Yeah, that on the show. You sent me a clip from you and him making puns about Joe Adele from years ago.
I randomly found that too, and I was very happy. I figured out why I couldn't find it when I wanted to. It's because Joe changed his Twitter handle, so I couldn't look at it by finding it that way. But I randomly stumbled on it. Anyway, continue. You and Matt were talking in February.
Matt will sometimes just like randomly send me tidbits of things he's heard, and I think it was like late February, early March, he said Julio Rodriguez is going to make the team.
And your ears perked up instantly, I bet.
And I went, what? He goes, I think he's going to make the team. So this was before any of the beat writers had
early on it. Yeah.
The guys at Prospect Live, like they've got legit sources. Like they're a fantastic organization. And so I started scooping up shares of Julio Rodriguez.
That's awesome.
For super, super cheap before anybody else. My only regret is not getting more because I didn't get him in the main. I wish I had, but I did get him for $2 like in tout and in my auction. So yeah, I'm a big Julio Rodriguez he is at this point right now. He is Starling Marte.
Yes.
And we're talking about a guy who's in the first half season of his career, and he's already Starling Marte.
Yeah. Without the injury health, or without the.
No, I think there might be some regression in batting average.
Sure. I'm fine with saying that.
He doesn't make a ton of zone contact. He also hits the ball on the ground quite a bit. And so and that's why I use Starling Marte, because Starling Marte, especially like earlier on in his career, was a guy who sometimes he hit 300, sometimes he hit 255, but you knew you were getting double-digit home runs and 30-plus stolen bases.
Exactly.
And I think that's what Rodriguez is right now, with the potential that he's so young and so talented that if he went 30-30 this year, I would not be surprised.
Nope, we wouldn't even bat an eye at this point.
I know you said he's a fringe first rounder. He is a lock in the first round for me next year.
I think I'm okay with that. I was just trying to be a conservative and say that I think he'll go in some first rounds, but I think you could be right that he just is a firm first rounder with that speed, especially, and the pop. Obviously, it kind of will depend on how he finishes, but there's no reason.
He's also a good defender.
Off. Yes, he is. He's a great all-around player. Julio Rodriguez has really shown this is what we thought Jared Kelenic could do, right? Yeah. And I wonder how many people were worried about Julio based on Kelenic, even though they're two distinct players. Yeah. But I know that happened. I know that happened because I remember it crossing my mind. Maybe I'm just projecting because I thought it, but I can't be the only one who thought at least at one point to pause and say, what about Kelenic? And then I said, no, that's awful process. Judge them independently. So Colin and I actually in a 12-teamer, our OC that we did, we bought him. And this was high. This was 2 days before the regular season started. We paid 6th round and we just said, forget it. We want to have a J-Rod share. And we bought big.
I think
no regrets so far.
Yeah, I mean, he went in like the third round of my other main.
That's great.
And it was, and I was going, I can't pull third round on a guy that like, because on top of like the Kelenic back thoughts, you also had the realization that seemed like a loaded outfield to start the season.
Yes, exactly.
It is not a loaded outfield because Mitch Haniger got hurt and Kelenic is
brutal,
awful. I hope he turns it.
I hope
like
so
this,
too, man. But guys,
there's really no reason he should be this bad.
But
like,
they don't fix K rates like that. There is so little history to fixing a 30% K rate, 500 plate appearances into your career.
Like,
and he's at 34% in AAA now too.
That's what I was trying to look up.
It's scary.
This feels like a mental thing.
With like Kelenic, I agree.
This feels like the hitter version of Mackenzie Gore. Like
That's just call.
Like that a year from now, he's going to be a guy that breaks out because he just gets some time away, clears his head, and gets back to just being. Because I mean, he never showed these issues. Coming up to the majors,
Kelenic was not a huge swing and miss guy in the minors.
No, and so like I don't think that. Like I think this is like 90% mental. Like
I like that comparison too, because even if it's not fully the Gore thing, it reminds you to step back and realize that Kelenic's 22. It's not over. Yep. Even if he doesn't get all the way back the way Gore seems to have, at least so far this year, there is room to improve from here. Do not completely quit Kelenic. I understand if you're off of him for this year right now, but do not completely quit this guy and just say,
in dynasty leagues, I would try to gobble up as many shares.
Definitely getting a discount.
Yeah.
And think about the discounts you could have gotten on Gore in dynasty.
Yeah. He got dropped in lots of dynasty leagues.
It could have gone the Forrest Whitley route, right? Like this is a positive outcome here. But
the difference with Whitley was like there were some like actual physical signs. Like we heard reports like
too.
Yeah, and I think the physical signs were the off the field stuff because we heard about weight loss and things like that, and there's clearly some sort of
he might have just lost his way a bit. So I'm pulling for Whitley. I hope he has a rebound where we're like, damn, remember Forrest Whitley? He's back. Relieving or something, or even starting him, but I just
hope it doesn't take the time that like it took Matt Bush, like
exactly, or an incident of awfulness, like a heinous
like
crime.
Matt Bush,
like Matt Bush. So I don't want to say incident and downplay the heinous crime that he committed, but also I'm somebody that believes that Matt Bush served his time, so I don't just always bring that up to like shit on him.
Still my favorite piece ever written was my Matt Bush article,
and I don't want to turn into a whole thing on that, but like, you're not giving him applause for anything that he did. No. But is there no room to acknowledge somebody who has grown from?
He redeemed himself.
That's what I'm saying. So I think
he still has to live with the life. Like it's not like
I don't even think he killed him. Right? I thought it was. I mean,
maybe just.
I shouldn't say. I'm not trying to downplay it either, but I think he ran over the guy, but I don't think it was murder. But he had to go. He went to prison. He was broken. Like he was bottom of the barrel, and deserved everything he got. Matt Bush did in terms of getting in trouble. But man, people really telling themselves when they show how little they actually believe in rehabilitation, because they still hate Matt Bush and they want to bring up every time that he did. Like it's like, damn, dude. If he is a shitty person again, you can bring up his past shittiness, but at that point, I don't know. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent here. I hope Forrest Whitley gets back on track. J-Rod's a god. Don't quit on Jarred Kelenic. Andrew Vaughn. He's only the 52nd outfielder, which is not like eye-poppingly amazing. It's still obviously pretty good because don't forget, 12-team league. We need 5 outfielders apiece minimum. That's 60. So he's a starting outfielder there. Plus you factor in guys from the outfield will be used elsewhere. So he's easily starting. His run is somewhat recent in terms of really turning it around. And exploding in this month here, or I guess May now that we're in June. Actually, no, I have it reversed. April was good. He smoothed out a bit in May, but the bottom line is he has an 839 OPS right now, 298, 342, 497 for Andrew Vaughn, 6 homers, 23 ribbies, only 15 runs. Part of that's batting lower in the order. I had his reverse. I thought he was better in May than he was April. But where are you on Andrew Vaughn right now? He's playing every day. Part of that is they don't have anybody else to play. But
yeah,
we knew that they weren't going to give up on him against righties, though. Like, right, he platooned a bit last year. I didn't really see any reason why he wouldn't be a full-timer this year. But he's now batting second and kicking ass against righties and lefties. Will these runs go up? Is Andrew Vaughn breaking out? Where do you stand on the 24-year-old right-hander?
Andrew Vaughn is going to be this guy that I end up trying to target a lot next year, but I think everybody does.
Yeah, especially if he doesn't quite like. He's
I don't think
140 OPS plus right now.
I don't think it's going to be like the huge Andrew Vaughn year, because what happens when Eloy comes back? They're going to need to DH Eloy. And are they going to want to put Vaughn out in the outfield full time?
They will. Sheets and Pollock will lose time.
We've said that before, though. Like they
did, though.
I trust Tony La Russa at 9.
Vaughn always plays. Pollock. Oh, you think Pollock's going to be healthy? That's adorable.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair.
Like, they'll just trade. Pollock will go on the IL when Eloy gets back. Vaughn is not coming out of the lineup right now for anything. He's going to have to really hit a slump for that to happen. So don't focus on that part of it. Let's focus on the skills. Where do you stand on his skills with unencumbered playing time right now? If you want to say that you're worried when Eloy gets back, I accept that. I don't fully agree, but I accept that as a comment. But what are you thinking right now when the playing time is rich and flowing? Is Andrew Vaughn somebody to, blindly start in all formats?
Yes, he is really, really good.
I think so too.
In spite of, not being a very good defender.
Learning a new position, by the way, too, let's say.
Mm-hmm. And this is why I think next year he is a legit breakout candidate, because this is Jose Abreu's last year. And so I assume he will move full-time to either DH or first base, and be a full-time player. Amazing zone contact for a power hitter. He's a guy that hits the ball extremely hard. I'd love to see him raise the launch angle a little bit, a few too many ground balls.
Get a little bit more pop going. Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, he legitimately is going to be right now, I think he is a younger version of Ty France in some ways.
I can see that with Andrew Vaughn. Yep. Him being so young and there being so much power in that bat, I think a raise in launch angle could have a massive year. So let's say he finishes with 23 homers, 270 average, solid runs and ribbies. Are you taking him around pick 120 next year for Andrew Vaughn?
Yeah.
Is that where you're trying to get him, 8th, 9th round type?
And maybe even higher.
Yeah, you might have to bounce him in certain leagues higher.
But I think, because that was this year the Josh Bell, CJ Cron.
I was trying to get the names, and I couldn't get them because I was looking in the outfield.
Jared
you went
Walsh.
to first base, and you found the right names. Yep.
Yeah, that was that area, and I think that's where he'll get drafted in that kind of same area again, and be one of my top tier targets there.
Yep. Same here. I love Andrew Vaughn. He's been great so far, and I really like him to continue to be good. And there's more upside. I do think there's 30 homers in the future. Maybe not even next year. It might even be the year after. He's only 24, so there's plenty of time for him to still be.
Needs to raise that launch angle just a little bit. Yeah.
Let's talk about a couple pitchers who are panning out. They were darlings with their distinct camps. I'm not saying there was no overlap, but there were the Sandy Alcantara believers out there big time. I'll raise my hand on that. There were the Alec Manoah believers.
I'll raise my hand on that.
And I will put mine down because I had that battle that you have where you love a player, but you don't love them for fantasy. I was nervous about the platoon split, the division, a little bit of a burgeoning home run issue because he's a 2-pitch guy. He is 6th. Manoah is on the player rater. Sandy is 3rd. Where were you on Sandy coming into the year? I kind of put him in a position or a rank on my ranks where I was never gonna get him, but it was still
but it was still
12.
Yeah, but there was a a Sandy fan in every draft.
Yes.
Like, he was going in the top 10 of every league at starting pitcher. And I was never going to get him because I never had him in the top 10. I wish I had. I really do. I didn't know if we were going to see kind of a continuance of kind of the breakout. And it hasn't been like, we haven't seen like growth or even that much building upon. But what we have seen is just like the safest of floors with him.
And
like
this is why I liked him so much, was because with Sandy, he didn't need to grow to be great. And the reason I had so much pushback for those that were anti-Sandy camp was I didn't find the negative argument compelling at all. They're like, well, you're buying on the come with him. I'm like, not really. I can get a repeat of next year, and it will not kill me for 205 innings of a 319, 107.
That's the huge thing, is the 205 innings. Like, he is a horse. He's
an absolute horse. He leads the league in innings right now, and that offsets the strikeout rate issues because the volume of innings can counterbalance that. He has just as many strikeouts right now as Hunter Greene and Carlos Rodon. He needed more innings to do it, but at the end of the day,
but he's always going to get those more innings,
and that's why I love him. That's why I love Sandy.
And this is one of those times in which I don't really deserve an L, but I'm going to take an L here because
I respect that.
These are the guys that I tend to target because they're innings workhorses, and I love those kind of guys. And for some reason, I was not in on him in the way I should. I should have looked at the
Lynn guy, right?
I am. I was a huge Lance Lynn guy. And I should have looked at the profile and go, this is just a younger version of a Lance Lynn, and in a better park, on a team that will let him pitch through struggles because they're not going to be good anyways.
Yeah, what are they doing?
And this was I think one of those situations that I wasn't ready to believe the breakout, and instead of taking the name off of the resume and going, just look at what he's doing, I should have been like, yeah, I talked myself out of it because I wasn't ready to believe in the breakout. And that was poor decision making, and I should have been targeting him. He should have been a top 7 or 8 pitcher for me, and he wasn't.
I think I could say more or less all of that similar vibe for Manoah. Because again, I love Manoah, but I couldn't get there fantasy wise for the reasons that I've highlighted. Now, I will say those aren't all covered, but I'm not going to sit here and try to finagle anything but a fat L. He has 6 wins, tied for most American League, 198 ERA, 0.91 whip for Alek Manoah. Yes, he still has a little bit of a platoon issue, but when you give up a 366 OPS to righties, your 765 against lefties is just not going to hurt you that much. The home run rate was not a burgeoning home run problem when he allowed 1.1 homer per 9 last year. He's down to 0.7, and the division hasn't been that crazy. Now the strikeout rate it's Sandy-esque, where he's needed the volume to kind of counterbalance it with 57 Ks and 63 2/3. But you can't deny what Manoah is doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll gladly eat the L because, like I said, it's a player I root for, so it's easy to be like, "Hey, I did get it wrong, but I like the guy, so I'm okay with that." But where do you stand on Manoah? Where were you on him coming into the year, and how has his first 8 starts or 10 starts changed anything, if at all?
It hasn't changed anything for me. I mean, he's kind of turning into the pitcher I was hoping he'd turn into. He was one of those guys that I had to make a concerted effort at the end of draft season to get, because I came into kind of some of my bigger drafts and went, I don't have Manoah anywhere.
I got no Manoah.
And so like Shelly and I pushed him up in the tag team league. I pushed him up in another league. And I got more aggressive on Manoah and been, extremely happy with the returns. He's got a sub 3% barrel rate.
That's the thing
right now.
Like, he's just so gross, dude.
He does not let you make hard contact. Some of the best hard contact numbers for a pitcher in the league. He's become aggressive, getting a lot of first pitch strikes, which really sets up that slider later on. I love Manoah. I think the breakout is legitimate. And there's something brewing in, like, I know Hyunjin Ryu's hurt and stuff like that, but like after seeing the Robbie Ray breakout in Toronto and now seeing Manoah breakout. There's something brewing a little bit in that pitching staff in
Pete Walker,
in Toronto.
Baby, pitching coach, and favorable park, not as punishing anymore as well. Our boy Stripling back in the rotation. Maybe he gets a little something going while
he threw decently last night.
Pitched brilliantly. Found that no strikeout team, the low strikeout Royals. So he pitched to contact, and it didn't hurt him at all. So, but anyway, just some check in on some folks that are doing well there. We're going to play a little bit more of that next time out, but I'm going to have you guess. I'll do the guessing with
that's going to go really, really poorly. But
with a bunch of guys who were expected to do well who aren't. So you'll have to, it'll be star level players who aren't in the top 10, and I'll figure out where you're at with them. We'll use it as a way to kind of check in on some more guys on the negative end. But these guys are mostly doing well. Even Franco, who was the lowest here, you're not worried. You're not cutting. You're not doing anything except playing him as soon as he gets back, just checking in with him to see where he's at and kind of underlining, at least after the big April, why Justin and I really weren't changing our opinion. We still like him, just not as much fantasy wise, but some opinion changes here. I'm on the Giménez train. Should have listened to you earlier, but you finally got me there. And now I enjoy watching him quite a bit. Picked him up in my 12-team mixer. He was still available last week. I think it's because he's not playing all the time, and that does hurt him a little bit, but I needed the speeds. I'll
tell you, I made some pickups the last few weeks where I was like, how is this guy still available? In smart, deep leagues. Like, I think too often, we just kind of hey, I'm just going to pick up the top guy on my waiver wire and stuff like that. Spend time looking at your waiver wire. Spend time looking at your league's drops.
Sometimes you don't have to make a move too. Sometimes you don't have a cut because some people are cutting guys and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I picked up Michael Wacha in our main in a two-step this week, and he just went out and shoved against
he threw a shut piece at the Angels. You devil. I can't believe you got him.
And also picked him up in Tout Wars. Just double check. I don't care what league depth you're in.
Never assume anything.
Yeah, go check your.
That's really the issue, and we say that all the time for good reason. I checked the Giménez one, going, "Oh, he's not going to be available," and then he was. I was like, "Holy shit, I'll take him." So anyway, I really have to pee, so we have to go. I got a little ant bladder, so I made it the whole hour, but I got to get going. We'll be back on Friday. Until then, Justin, have a good one.
Take it easy.